ages 75, 85. If you still do these 6 things, you're truly one of a kind. Good morning. It's Dr. William here, and I want to share something that might genuinely surprise you. For years, the prevailing medical advice for seniors has been to slow down, take it easy, and gracefully accept the natural decline that often accompanies aging. However, what if I told you that some of the most cutting-edge research on longevity over the past decade directly contradicts this conventional wisdom? What if the very factors that enable individuals to remain sharp, strong, and independent well into their 70s, 80s, and even 80s are not the ones your doctor typically discusses during a routine checkup, but rather simple daily habits that many people in those age groups have, perhaps unknowingly, let go of? After more than 2 decades of working closely with patients between the ages of 75 and 85, I've observed a pattern that the scientific community is only now beginning to definitively confirm. The individuals who age exceptionally well, those who still confidently drive themselves to appointments, maintain vibrant gardens, and effortlessly recall every grandchild's birthday without needing to jot it down, don't rely on expensive supplements or complex medical interventions. Instead, they share a remarkably specific set of everyday behaviors. A pivotal study conducted by the Stanford Center on Longevity meticulously followed over 4,200 adults between the ages of 70 and 90 for a span of 12 years. The findings were nothing short of striking. It was discovered that those who consistently practiced just 4 or more of these particular daily habits were an astounding 61% less likely to experience what researchers term accelerated functional decline. This refers to the rapid loss of independence that often leads to seniors needing to transition into assisted living facilities far sooner than is truly necessary. A 61% reduction in such decline is a profoundly significant figure. It represents the critical difference between living life on your own terms and having your daily schedule dictated by others. Before we delve deeper, I want to draw your attention to something specific, as I understand the temptation to skim ahead. The most impactful habit on this list, the single most potent among all 6, is a practice that receives surprisingly little attention. It has absolutely no direct connection to diet or exercise in the conventional sense. In fact, most cardiologists rarely bring it up. Yet, compelling research emerging from esteemed institutions like Johns Hopkins and the University of Edinburgh suggests that it might be the most crucial predictor of continued cognitive and physical independence beyond the age of 75. Therefore, I implore you to remain engaged until the very end, as this particular habit has the potential to fundamentally alter your perspective on the remainder of your life. But before we embark on this detailed exploration, I'd like to pose a personal question to you. Please share your current age in the comments section below, whether you are 68, 74, 81, or any age in between. Additionally, tell me which of the habits we're about to discuss you believe you already incorporate into your daily routine. I personally review every single comment received on this channel. This community is of paramount importance to me, and your personal experiences are invaluable. So please leave your thoughts below, and let's foster a genuine and insightful conversation. Now, let's embark on our countdown, beginning with habit number 6. Which might sound deceptively simple, yet the scientific underpinnings are anything but. At number 6, we have strategic hydration, not just casual sipping. Many individuals over the age of 75 make a fundamental error regarding their fluid intake. They assume it operates the same way it did in their mid-40s, which is simply not the case. As we reach our 70s, our kidneys experience a decline in filtering efficiency, often losing as much as 40%. Simultaneously, our body's natural thirst signals become significantly blunted, meaning we can be genuinely dehydrated without feeling the urge to drink. Furthermore, our blood's capacity to transport vital oxygen and nutrients to our muscles and brain deteriorates markedly with even minor fluid loss. Consider your bloodstream as a complex delivery network. When this system runs at a low level, the delivery vehicles slow down, packages can get misplaced, and the entire operation begins to falter. This is precisely what chronic mild dehydration does to an aging body. Extensive research, including a study published in the European Journal of Nutrition involving over 3,500 adults aged 70 and above, revealed that those who maintained consistent daily hydration levels exceeding 1.8 liters exhibited a 38% lower incidence of urinary tract infections. They also experienced a 29% reduction in falls, a direct consequence of dehydration's detrimental effect on balance and reaction time, and demonstrated notably better performance on short-term memory assessments. Given that the human brain is approximately 75% water, even a mere 2% drop in hydration can lead to measurable cognitive impairment at any age. However, this effect is significantly amplified after 75, as the brain's compensatory mechanisms are already working harder simply to maintain baseline functionality. The key differentiator that elevates this habit for truly exceptional seniors is their approach to drinking water. They don't simply drink when they remember, they consciously integrate it into their daily routine. A crucial first step is consuming 12 to 16 ounces of water immediately upon waking, before coffee, before breakfast, and before any other beverage. This is vital because our bodies lose fluids overnight through respiration and subtle perspiration. For individuals over 75, this overnight fluid deficit can be up to 30% greater than it was in their younger years. Following this morning replenishment, they continue by drinking a small glass of water with each meal and another in the mid-afternoon. A particularly effective synergy tip here involves pairing your morning water with a small amount of sodium. It's important to clarify that this doesn't mean table salt, but rather a tiny pinch of high-quality sea salt or an electrolyte tablet. This is because after 75, the kidneys have a reduced capacity to retain sodium effectively. Without adequate sodium, plain water tends to pass through the system without being fully absorbed into the cells where it's actually needed. I recall a patient, Margaret, an 81-year-old from Boise, Idaho, who sought my help due to persistent afternoon brain fog, dizziness upon standing, and what she described as a feeling of her thoughts being shrouded in cotton. She wasn't suffering from dramatic dehydration, but rather chronic, mild underhydration. By implementing just one change, strategic and timed hydration, correctly coupled with a small electrolyte addition in the morning, her progress was remarkable. Within 6 weeks, she reported that it felt as though a fog had lifted from her mind. Her balance improved significantly, and her afternoon fatigue diminished considerably. This single habit yielded life-changing results. Moving on to number 5, resistance-based movement. Practiced at least twice weekly, it's imperative to be exceptionally clear on this point, as I frequently witness this concept being misunderstood. When I refer to resistance movement, I am not suggesting the need to join a gym and lift heavy weights. Instead, I am advocating for any activity that requires your muscles to exert effort against a force. This could involve using a resistance band, holding a light dumbbell, performing wall push-ups, or even carrying groceries with a deliberate effort. This distinction is enormously important after the age of 75 due to a physiological process known as anabolic resistance. To elaborate, anabolic resistance refers to the diminished ability of aging muscle cells to effectively respond to the combined stimulation of protein intake and exercise. In practical terms, this means that beyond 75, your body requires a more significant stimulus, a more intentional form of resistance, to maintain the same muscle mass that a 50-year-old might preserve with considerably less effort. Your muscles aren't inherently lazy, they are simply more challenging to engage effectively. If you fail to consistently challenge them, they begin to undergo a process called sarcopenia, which is the progressive loss of muscle mass and strength. Research from the Mayo Clinic has unequivocally linked sarcopenia to a 47% increased risk of falls, a 53% higher likelihood of being unable to perform basic daily tasks within a 5-year period, and a significantly shortened overall lifespan. A study conducted at Tufts University tracked adults between the ages of 75 and 85 who initiated a twice-weekly resistance training regimen. Astonishingly, after just 10 weeks, these participants demonstrated an average increase of 37% in leg strength and a 28% improvement in balance scores. Perhaps most surprisingly for many, they also showed a measurable enhancement in insulin sensitivity. This improvement directly influences energy levels, inflammation reduction, and overall cognitive function. The mitochondria within your muscle cells, often referred to as the powerhouses of your body, actually become more efficient at regeneration in the presence of resistance exercise. Therefore, you are not merely building muscle, you are actively rebuilding the fundamental energy infrastructure of your entire system. The practical application of this habit is straightforward. Aim for 2 to 3 sessions per week, each lasting between 20 and 30 minutes, with a focus on engaging the major muscle groups such as the legs, hips, and back. Resistance bands are particularly well suited for seniors as they offer progressive resistance without placing undue stress on the joints. A crucial synergy tip is to perform your resistance training session within 30 minutes of consuming 25 to 30 grams of protein. This is because after the age of 75, the anabolic window, the period during which your muscles are most receptive to protein for repair and synthesis, is shorter and less forgiving than in younger individuals. At this stage of life, timing is not merely an option, it is absolutely essential. At number 4, we focus on maintaining a consistent and purposeful sleep schedule. Before I proceed, if you are finding value in this video and learning information that you wish had been shared with you years ago, please take a moment right now to click that subscribe button. Additionally, if you know someone between the ages of 70 and 90 who would benefit from this knowledge, please share this video with them today. My sole motivation for creating this channel is to provide seniors with the science-backed truths that are often overlooked during the limited time available in typical medical appointments. Now, let's return to the critical topic of sleep, which is far more complex than simply going to bed early. After the age of 75, our circadian rhythm, the body's internal 24-hour clock, undergoes significant shifts and a notable weakening. Your brain produces approximately 70% less melatonin than it did in your 30s. Furthermore, slow-wave sleep, the deepest and most restorative phase for physical repair, decreases by as much as 80% compared to what was experienced in your 30s. This is the critical phase during which human growth hormone is released, a hormone indispensable for cellular repair, immune function, and muscle maintenance. What most people fail to realize is that poor sleep after 75 is not solely about feeling fatigued. A comprehensive study from the University of California, Berkeley, revealed that adults over 70 with disrupted sleep patterns exhibited a 68% higher accumulation of amyloid plaques in the brain, the very same plaques associated with Alzheimer's disease. The seniors who excel in this area don't merely sleep more, they prioritize consistency. They adhere to a bedtime routine, falling asleep within the same 30-minute window each night and waking at the same time each morning, including weekends. They maintain a cool bedroom environment, ideally between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit, because the body's ability to regulate temperature during sleep becomes less efficient after 75. A cooler environment actively supports the deep sleep that your brain critically requires. They also consciously avoid screens for a full 60 minutes before bed. This recommendation extends beyond just the blue light emitted by devices. Engaging in mentally stimulating activities keeps the prefrontal cortex active in ways that, according to research from Harvard Medical School, can delay sleep onset by an average of 47 minutes in adults over 70. A powerful synergy tip is to combine your consistent sleep schedule with 10 minutes of slow, diaphragmatic breathing exercises before bed. This practice effectively activates the parasympathetic nervous system, initiating your body's natural rest and repair mode. Research indicates that this can reduce nighttime cortisol levels by up to 22%, making it considerably easier to achieve and sustain the restorative slow-wave sleep essential for aging adults. At number 3, we address the importance of consuming protein in a deliberate and distributed pattern. This is an area where I encounter the most dangerous misconceptions among seniors, and it genuinely concerns me as a physician. The notion that protein requirements decrease with age is not only incorrect, it may well be one of the most harmful pieces of nutritional folklore ever perpetuated. The reality is precisely the opposite. Due to the anabolic resistance previously discussed, individuals over 75 actually require 50% to 75% more dietary protein per pound of body weight compared to a healthy 30-year-old to achieve the same muscle maintenance effects. Yet the majority of seniors I encounter consume only half the protein they truly need. This is often attributed to a diminished appetite with age and a preference for high-carbohydrate foods, which can feel easier to prepare and consume. Research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, involving over 2,700 adults aged 70 to 85, found that those who consumed at least 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight daily, distributed across 3 or more meals, maintained significantly more muscle mass. They also exhibited 41% lower rates of hospitalization due to fall-related injuries and demonstrated markedly better immune responses to common infections like influenza and pneumonia. Consider protein as the essential building blocks your body utilizes for overnight repair and rebuilding. Every night while you sleep, your body undertakes a process of breaking down old, damaged tissue and replacing it with new. Without an adequate supply of these bricks, without sufficient protein, the reconstruction process remains incomplete. Over months and years, this structural deficit can become catastrophic. The practical approach to this habit is as follows. Aim to consume between 25 and 35 grams of protein at each of your 3 main meals. This equates to roughly 4 to 5 ounces of lean protein sources such as chicken, fish, eggs, Greek yogurt, or legumes per meal. The reason the distribution of protein is so critical after 75 lies in the fact that aging muscles can only effectively utilize approximately 35 to 40 grams of protein per sitting for synthesis. Any excess beyond this amount tends to be oxidized for energy rather than utilized for repair. Spreading your protein intake throughout the day ensures that every gram contributes maximally to your body's needs. I recall a patient, James, a 78-year-old from Scottsdale, Arizona, who came to me after his daughter noticed he had lost nearly 18 pounds, which his previous physician had dismissed as normal age-related weight loss. It was far from normal. He was losing muscle mass, not just fat. His grip strength, a potent predictor of longevity in older adults, had plummeted to the bottom 15th percentile for his age group. By restructuring his meals around a deliberate protein intake strategy, within 12 weeks, he had regained 11 pounds of lean muscle mass. His grip strength improved to the 60th percentile, and he proudly shared that he had managed to carry all of his own groceries from the car for the first time in 2 years. A valuable synergy tip to enhance your protein intake is to pair your protein-rich meals with a small amount of vitamin C. This can be as simple as consuming an orange, some bell pepper, or a splash of lemon juice. Vitamin C plays a crucial role in collagen synthesis, which works in tandem with dietary protein to maintain not only muscle, but also the integrity of connective tissues, joint cartilage, and skin. These components collectively determine how well your body holds itself together and functions optimally after the age of 75. Now, at number 2, we have daily intentional social engagement. I mentioned earlier in this video that one of the top 2 habits might be a surprise, and this is undoubtedly the one that most often catches people off guard. It might sound too soft, too emotionally driven to be considered a medical recommendation. However, I want to be absolutely unequivocal. The research surrounding social engagement and longevity in adults over 75 is not soft. It represents some of the most robust and consistently replicable science in modern gerontology. A comprehensive study from Brigham Young University, which analyzed data from over 300,000 adults across multiple decades, found that social isolation carried a mortality risk equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes per day. To reiterate, Chronic social isolation is as detrimental to your lifespan as smoking 15 cigarettes every single day. For adults over 75, the National Institute on Aging has documented that loneliness can accelerate cognitive decline by as much as 64%, increase the risk of dementia by 41%, and dramatically elevate inflammatory markers in the blood, specifically interleukin-6 and C-reactive protein. These inflammatory markers directly contribute to damage in cardiovascular tissue, compromise immune function, and negatively impact neural connectivity. There is a profound physiological mechanism at play here. Meaningful social interaction, as opposed to passive screen time or simply being in the same room as someone without engaging, triggers the release of oxytocin. Oxytocin is a hormone that suppresses cortisol, reduces inflammation, and activates the prefrontal cortex in ways that maintain the density and activity of neural pathways. Think of your social brain as a muscle. The neurons that fire during genuine conversation, shared laughter, spirited debate, and emotional connection are precisely the same neurons responsible for preserving your memory, your decision-making abilities, and your very sense of self. When these neurons become dormant for extended periods, they begin to prune away. After the age of 75, neuroplasticity, your brain's inherent capacity to form new connections, has already significantly diminished, making the restoration of unused pathways considerably more challenging. The prescription for this habit is not complex, but it must be approached with intentionality. Aim for at least one meaningful in-person social interaction every single day. A phone call can suffice if it involves genuine engagement. Participating in a community group, attending a faith gathering, finding a walking partner, or having a regular lunch with a neighbor all contribute. What does not count in terms of neurological benefit is passive social presence. You must be actively thinking, responding, laughing, disagreeing, or sharing. This level of engagement serves as the crucial stimulus that helps maintain the structural integrity of your brain. Dorothy, an 83-year-old from Charleston, South Carolina, experienced the profound loss of her husband of 54 years and subsequently withdrew almost entirely from her social life. Her daughter brought her to see me 8 months later. Cognitively, Dorothy had declined measurably on standard assessments in less than a year. We didn't alter her medications. Instead, we meticulously built her a social schedule. This included a weekly book club, a daily 20-minute phone call with a rotating list of friends and family, and a twice-weekly volunteer shift at her local library. 8 months after implementing this social re-engagement, her cognitive scores had returned to near their baseline levels. Her inflammatory markers had decreased, and her daughter reported that she seemed like her old self again. Social engagement is not a mere luxury after 75. It is a fundamental biological necessity. A powerful synergy tip here is to pair your social engagement with physical movement whenever feasible. This could involve a walk with a friend, participating in a gentle exercise class with others, or gardening alongside a neighbor. Research from the University of British Columbia indicates that combining social interaction with even light physical activity produces a synergistic effect on brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, that is significantly greater than either behavior alone. BDNF essentially acts as fertilizer for your brain cells. The more you can cultivate, the better. And now we arrive at number 1. This is the habit that fewer than 12% of adults over the age of 75 consistently maintain, and which researchers at Johns Hopkins have referred to as the most underutilized longevity intervention available to aging adults without a prescription. Number 1, daily purposeful cognitive challenge. This is not about engaging in crossword puzzles or passive reading, although both have their merits. I am referring to something more specific, more demanding, and ultimately more transformative. It is the daily practice of actively learning something genuinely new, whether it's a new skill, a language, a musical instrument, or a new form of creative expression that compels your brain to enter a state of productive discomfort. The reason this is paramount is that after the age of 75, your brain begins to preferentially rely on established neural pathways, It becomes exceptionally efficient at performing familiar tasks while exhibiting a marked reluctance to build new ones. This isn't a character flaw, it's a survival mechanism, an aging brain conserving metabolic energy by favoring the familiar. However, this preference for the familiar is also the very mechanism by which cognitive reserve is depleted. Cognitive reserve is the brain's resilience buffer, its ability to compensate for age-related structural changes and still function at a high level. Think of it like the RAM in a computer. The more cognitive reserve you possess, the more damage your brain can absorb before you begin to experience symptoms of decline. Research from the University of Edinburgh's Lothian birth cohort study, which followed over 1,000 adults from their 70s into their late 80s, revealed that individuals who engaged in novel, challenging cognitive activities for at least 30 minutes per day exhibited a 47% slower rate of brain atrophy as observed on MRI scans. They also maintained significantly better processing speed and episodic memory, and were 38% less likely to receive a dementia diagnosis over the subsequent decade. A separate study from the Rush Memory and Aging Project found that seniors who described their daily lives as intellectually engaging demonstrated brain function equivalent to adults 10 years younger on standardized neurological assessments. The underlying mechanism here is neuroplasticity, your brain's innate ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections. While neuroplasticity does indeed decline with age, it never entirely disappears. The brain retains the capacity for meaningful structural change well into its 80s, but this requires sufficient stimulus. Novel learning is precisely that stimulus. Learning a new language, for instance, engages 5 distinct regions of the brain simultaneously and has been shown in studies from the American Academy of Neurology to delay dementia onset by an average of 4.5 years. Learning a musical instrument integrates fine motor control, auditory processing, memory, and emotional regulation in a coordinated manner that few other activities can replicate. Even learning to cook a new cuisine from scratch, by requiring reading, sequencing, sensory attention, and motor skills, provides a meaningful cognitive challenge. The practical approach to this habit is to select one genuinely new skill every 3 to 4 months and dedicate at least 20 to 30 minutes each day to actively learning it. The key word here is actively. Watching someone else play guitar on YouTube is not the same as learning to play guitar yourself. Sitting with the instrument in your hands and struggling through a chord progression is. That struggle, that productive discomfort, is where the neurological benefit resides. It is the cognitive equivalent of resistance training. The resistance itself is the point. I had a patient, Robert, a 79-year-old from Portland, Oregon, who retired from a 40-year career as a civil engineer. By his own admission, he spent the first 3 years of his retirement doing very little that truly challenged his mind. He sought my consultation after noticing increasing difficulty recalling names and following complex conversations. His MRI scans showed age-appropriate changes, nothing alarming, but his cognitive reserve scores were lower than I would have preferred. I provided him with a single prescription. Choose something he had always wanted to learn and commit to doing it every day. He opted for oil painting, an activity he had never attempted before. He was, by his own admission, terrible at first. 18 months later, he had completed 23 paintings, joined a local art group, thereby simultaneously addressing habit number 2, and his follow-up cognitive assessments revealed improvements in 3 out of 5 measured domains. Improvement, not just maintenance, at the age of 79. A final synergy tip for your daily cognitive challenge is to pair it with adequate omega-3 fatty acid intake, specifically DHA. This is found in fatty fish such as salmon, mackerel, and sardines, or can be obtained through high-quality fish oil supplements. DHA is the primary structural fat component of brain cell membranes, and research from the Framingham Heart Study demonstrates that adults with higher DHA levels exhibit significantly better neuroplasticity responses to cognitive training. In essence, DHA helps your brain absorb the benefits of what you are learning. It is the foundational element that supports the learning process. All scientific references supporting the information presented in this video are readily available in the description below. I strongly encourage you to review them, share them with your physician, and engage in an informed conversation about what is most suitable for your individual circumstances. Now, I want to conclude with something that comes directly from the heart. Having sat across from countless patients in the 75 to 85 age bracket, I've come to understand that this phase of life is too often perceived as a countdown rather than a continuation. It is anything but. The research I've shared with you today points towards a profound truth that the medical field is only beginning to fully comprehend. The body and mind at 75, at 80, at 85 retain a remarkable and often stubborn capacity for resilience. This resilience is not achieved in spite of age, but rather in a dynamic dialogue with it. The 6 habits we have explored, strategic hydration, resistance-based movement, consistent sleep, deliberate protein intake, daily social connection, and purposeful cognitive challenge, are not about turning back the clock. Instead, they are about maximizing the extraordinary potential of the time that remains. They are about the ability to carry your own groceries, to recall your grandchildren's names with affection, to drive yourself to your own appointments, and to laugh until your eyes water at dinner with someone you deeply cherish. That, my friends, is the true essence of independence. That is what quality of life truly signifies. And I promise you, I have witnessed it firsthand in patients who were told, "There was nothing left to optimize. It is never, ever too late to begin." If you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, please do so right now. Every week, I provide research-backed, senior-specific health information that I genuinely believe can add years of quality to your life. Click subscribe and ensure that your notification bell is activated so you never miss a future video. And now, I am eager to hear from you. Please leave your age in the comments section and share which of these 6 habits you feel strongest in right now and which one you are most motivated to cultivate. I will be reading every single response. This community is one of the most engaged and thoughtful I have ever had the privilege of being a part of, and that is entirely due to you. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Please take excellent care of yourself because you are unequivocally worth the effort.